Here's Johnny!
Hi guys, and welcome back to the channel. You know, as I get older, I also get fatter, uglier, and more comfortable. And it's a vicious spiral because when I get more comfortable, I actually get even fatter and even uglier. But let's not talk about that today. But we're going to talk about comfortability, because comfortability is, since you're getting older and fatter and uglier, more and more important to you, important to me, that is.
It's all about me.
I really like to be comfortable, and today we're talking about comfortable watches versus uncomfortable watches. So I'm going to rate my watches from the least comfortable watch in my collection to the most comfortable watch in my collection. We have 9 watches to go through, so let's head over to the table. Since my neighbor started to hammer something over there, let's head on over to the table, take a look at the watches. That'll dry there. Take a look at the watches that I'm gonna rate today, and let's not waste any more time, and let's just do it. Okay guys, welcome to the table. We have 9 watches to go through, and let's just start with the least comfortable watch in my collection. At number 9 we have the Casio Who Wants to Be a G-Shock. This retro smelling nice release from Casio, I think it was released this year, 2024, is a stunning watch. It gives me that retro vibe, and it also looks like a sturdy G-Shock, and yet it weighs almost nothing and it costs almost nothing. It's like $30 or $40 or $50 or something like that. It has some nice coloring on that dial. We have a little bit of green in the sub-dial there. We have a little bit of blue there. We have the text overall type, tide graph, moon phase, search, all the shenanigans that you would usually get from a G-Shock, but it's not a G-Shock, and it's not comfortable. It's simply, a watch that weighs this little. I'm not going to be able to do it in camera, so I'm going to take it out of camera and put it on my wrist. A watch that weighs this little, basically nothing, should be comfortable on your wrist and should be like it's not even there. You forget that you're wearing it, but you don't. This is my 20 centimeter wrist, and this is the Casio on it. It looks good, not too big, not too fat, but it's just not comfortable. It's something with the resin strap. It's stiff. It never seems to soften up, and there's some sharp, it feels sharp even though it's just plastic. And what do you expect for that kind of money? It's a cheap watch, but still, I expected something more from Casio, because I have worn some really comfortable Casios in my days, and this just simply isn't one of them. So my least comfortable watch, 9th place, the Casio. We go from a watch that really wants to be a tooly, sporty G-Shock but isn't, to a dress watch. This is the Descenders Voyage GMT, or Voyage GMT, and this one takes spot number 8 in my collection. It's a nice looking, beautiful, wonderful watch. GMT, Norwegian brand, stunner. We have the butterfly clasp there, easy to adjust. You just move that little thing around in those different holes, but it's just not comfortable to wear. And I think that in this case it has more to do with my wrist and the way that I wear watches than it has to do with the actual watch itself. I prefer to wear my watches on the collarbone right there. I have a bone there, if you can see it underneath all the fat. A collarbone right there. People say you should wear your watches above the collarbone or below the collarbone. I always wear my watches straight on that collarbone. I don't know why. I've always done it that way. That is the most comfortable way for me personally, but it is, as I have understood it, the wrong way to wear it. Nonetheless, that's the way I wear it. And when wearing this watch like that, it always seems to, it looks perfectly fine right now. Looks great on my wrist, I think. It's the perfect size. The strap itself is comfortable. It's a canvas strap. It comes with a bunch of strap options, but it tends to, just after a couple of minutes, it starts heading north, and it ends up looking like that in just a couple of minutes.
Brother, what's that?
So I always have to take it back down and finagle it around and make it sit there, and then I go on with my day and it just heads up straight up again. I don't know why, and I would, if I could, exchange this strap easily, but it's not that easy. You see, we have a curvature there. Those are curved little pins inside of it. Because of the holes in the lugs, they are really, really way close to that case, really far in. And if you want to exchange this strap, you have to find something that is curved, and I simply don't have that in my collection. So it ends up being a really uncomfortable watch. And also, it is a little bit short, the strap for me. You see, I'm wearing it on the hole that is almost furthest away. It is. Let's see. Yeah, the second hole there. I only have one spare if I wanted to give it some more space. So yeah, number 8, the Sanders Voyage GMT. Okay, number 7 is a G-Shock. This is not just any G-Shock. This is, in my opinion, the best G-Shock that has ever been released. You recognize the watch. It's really reminiscent to the OG, but this is the 40th anniversary edition. You can see it there on that little buckle thing. 4 stars, 40th anniversary, and you get that brass feeling. It's anodized metal, I think, and the shroud is made of complete metal. It's not plastic, which gives this watch a little bit more of a heft than the original. And I like the heft. I prefer the heft. If I had to choose, I would every day choose the heft of this watch compared to the resin of the original, because that weighs nothing. And though it is comfortable when it weighs nothing, it still doesn't weigh anything, and I like my watches to weigh something at least. But this watch wears a little bit better, I think, because of the shroud. The metal shroud there is a little bit further, is a little bit bigger than the resin there. I mean, I don't know. This is where my English fails me. But if you look at the metal shroud, and you see that it protrudes a little, the case back right there. On the plastic one, it is almost flat to the case. And here we have a little protrusion, meaning that the watch is a little bit thicker on your wrist. And with the original, I always had a big problem in finding the perfect fit, because it was always either too tight or too loose. But with this one, even though it's not perfect, it is still either a little bit too tight or too loose. But with this one, it is a little bit better. It's simply just a tad better to wear, and it feels like a real watch. So I like it, but still, it is number 7 in my collection. Number 6, we have the Seiko 5 Sports GMT Yuto Horigome Limited Edition. This is a stunning watch that I fell in love with right away when I saw it. It's a Seiko 5 Sports. We have a little thick boy here. It's not that thick actually, but it looks thick because we have the really short lugs there, and the actual quite substantial bezel, as you can see there. And that in itself is not a problem when wearing it on your wrist. And the reason that it's fairly low in my collection is not because of the case itself. I think it's because the case has no counterweight in that clasp.
Whatever, man.
Even though I really like this watch, I have given it a little bit of a hard time because Seiko keep cheaping out on us. And one thing that I think that they shouldn't have cheapened out on is the clasp. We have a hollow pressed metal clasp there, weighing barely nothing. You can see those little thin metal pieces there. And since the clasp doesn't wear anything on this watch, And the clasp is the thing that should be balancing out your watch. You're wearing this on the top and that underneath your wrist. There should be a balance there, but there's not, because there's basically no weight here. That means when I wear this watch, all the weight is on the top, and this watch is actually the watch that I am afraid of bumping into things the most in my collection. I'm always afraid of bumping it into things, so I'm really careful when I wear it, because it is a little wiggly and it flaps around on my wrist, and that's why it snags the number 7 on this list. Too bad, because it is a beauty. Sorry guys, in the end of the Seiko there, I said it was number 7. It was obviously number 6, and I said 6 in the beginning, but I'm just confused sometimes. It was number 6, and this is number 5. Febus Voyager GMT. Right down in the middle there, almost in the middle, is this watch. It has to be the most eye-catching watch that I own and possibly have ever owned, with that purple dial. It is a beauty. 40 millimeters. I mean, it is a great wear, and with the quick adjustment options there, you just push that thing in and you have at least 5 millimeters there to your disposal to do whatever you want with. Nice bracelet, and it wears really nice on my wrist. It sits in place. It is there. We have some nice weight on that clasp compared to that watch head, so it doesn't wobble around like the Seiko does. But if I had to choose, the 4 watches that are above this one are simply more comfortable, and it has to come down to the sharpness. This watch is a little bit sharp, mostly on that bracelet there, but also in the case itself. It has a little bit of sharpness to it. It catches my thumb there the way that the other watches just simply don't. Oh, there is one watch that actually does it, but I'm going to explain why it's higher on the list. But if it wasn't for that, this would have been higher on the list. But it is a little sharp, and yeah, but it's great in every other way. Just that the other watches are better in comfortability. But this is number 5. Now we're beginning to close up to the top, and at number 4 we have the Nazumi Aiera GMT. I'm just going to move that GMT hand out of the way so you can get a nice look at the dial there. Yeah, I shouldn't have to do that, but I did it the hard way. There we have it, Nazumi Aiera GMT. Nice little watch, and the thing that makes this watch, I mean, let's do like this. We have the same movement in both of these. They're both 40 millimeter watches. This one has the quick adjustment in the bracelet. Really comfortable. You can give yourself a couple of millimeters if you need to. This one just hasn't. The Nazumi, it has 4 points of micro adjustment right there. The thing that makes this more comfortable than this is simply that Jubilee style bracelet, because this watch is also a little bit sharp, mostly the bracelet here. The case itself isn't as sharp as the Febus. It maybe is a little bit sharp, but not as the Febus in my honest opinion. But the bracelet, even though it's sharp, it is a Jubilee bracelet, and man, the smoothness of Jubilees. I really love me some Jubilee bracelets. They are really comfortable on the wrist, and that's why this one, even though it is a little bit sharp, even though it has no quick adjustment possibilities, it's still really comfortable on your wrist. You feel you have a watch there, but you don't feel it during the day, and that's great. So Nazumi Aiera, spot number 4, is clearly yours. Okay, third runner-up. Third place in from most comfortable to least comfortable watches in my collection. It is a Seiko, and is the Seiko Daytona. What a nice this watch if you compare it to the other Seiko, this is a little bit more expensive. It really is, than the other Seiko. I don't know if it's worth it because it's a solar powered watch and it's a 42 millimeter watch, so it's not a small watch, indeed, and it has kind of a funky little clasp there when we're talking about balance. I mean, that little thing doesn't give you much balance, but the finishing on that bracelet and on that case, it is smooth as butter. I mean, this watch feels almost, maybe no, not almost, as good, as nicely finished as my Tudors when I owned them. It feels similar to my Tudor Black Bay Pro in the, it's almost that you might think that it is 904L steel, but it isn't, but it feels like it because it is so smooth, so soft. We have no sharp edges anywhere, and even though it has that small little clasp underneath there, it doesn't move anywhere on my wrist. It sits perfectly, and even though it's a little bit big with the 42 millimeters, it's still such a comfortable watch. So spot number 3 goes to a Seiko. Fantastic. Okay, second place, the almost best watch in my collection when it comes to comfortability is the Timex Waterbury. This watch is a cheap watch. It's a quartz watch. It's a cheap watch from a really renowned brand, Timex. They've been around for ages. Everyone knows what a Timex is. But this watch, I mean, it should not be this comfortable for the price that you pay for this, but it is, I mean, it is fantastic on the wrist. I think that some of it has to do with that it is a quartz watch because we don't have the weight here, but we have some weight. It is a full stainless steel watch, so you feel some weight when wearing it, but it is smooth and it is nice. And that bracelet, I mean, it's almost like a blend of a Jubilee and a straight regular stainless steel bracelet. It is really smooth and nice, folds up on itself entirely. It's a pleasure to wear. We have that pressed clasp there, so we don't have any balance here that I was talking about before with the Seiko 5 Sports GMT, but it doesn't need to have that balance because the head itself, since it's a quartz watch, it's really light, but it's not that light that it feels cheap. It's just perfect in between, almost feeling cheap and not feeling cheap. It hits the spot, you know. I'm trying to find other words, but I just can't. The second best feeling watch in my collection, Timex Waterbury. Feels like I'm not wearing it, and yet it's still there if I close my eyes. Smooth, comfortable. I take it with me for all my travels and activities with the kid. It's really a nice watch to wear on your wrist. And the number one spot, the top dog in my collection, has to be, you might have guessed what it is. It is the Rolex GMT Master 2. This watch, since the day I put this watch on my wrist, I think I'm into year 5 or 6 of owning this watch, and I still haven't made a review of it. It is the most comfortable watch that I have ever worn on my wrist. I really hate the fact that this watch does not have a quick adjustment option here, like the Submariner. I don't know why they didn't put that in this clasp. That would have been wonderful. But every time that I think about that, I think, would I ever have needed it? And the answer is no, because I never feel with this watch that I am too fat or too thin for it.
You sure about that?
You know, as I get older, I also get fatter, uglier, and more comfortable. I also get fatter.
Liar!
The usual thing that I feel with all my other watches, where if it's hotter outside, my arm swells up a little bit, so I need to change the size. I never feel with the Rolex. Maybe it has to do with the Jubilee. I mean, a Jubilee is simply the most comfortable bracelet type in the world, in my opinion. And it's 904L steel. That means it's just buttery smooth all over the place. It feels maybe I'm fooling myself, but when I put my Rolex on, somehow, in some magical way, it feels like I'm putting on something that is just in another tier of all the other watches that I actually have in my collection. And actually, compared to all the other watches that I have ever worn and tried out, this, my holy grail, my Rolex, feels most comfortable. It is the best watch that I have ever put on my wrist, and I'm so glad that, because I wanted to buy it because of the looks. I'm going to talk to you about that in my full breakdown of this watch, full review. I fell for it because of the looks. I didn't want to buy it because I thought it was too small, and then I got used to smaller watches and then I bought it. But I bought it because of the looks, not because of the way it felt on my wrist. But when putting it on, just getting that bonus that it feels perfect. It feels like I want every other watch to feel on my wrist, and it has the looks that I want. It's just a perfect watch, and it gives me full assurance maybe is the word, that this is the right watch for me. If I had to sell all of my watches, I would keep this one, because this is my holy grail watch, and it's wonderful to wear. Every day I put it on my wrist, I have a smile on my face. That's it. Number 1. So, quick little recap. Least comfortable, spot number 9, Casio. Spot number 8, Descenders Voyage GMT. Spot number 7, my G-Shock 40th anniversary square. Spot number 6, the Seiko 5 Sports GMT Yuto Horigome limited edition. Spot number 5, the Febus Voyager GMT. Spot number 4, the Nazumi aiera GMT Swedish micro brand. Spot number 3, the Timex Waterbury. Nah, I messed it up. It's like this. Spot number 3, the Seiko, beautiful Panda Seiko. Spot number 2, Timex Waterbury. I almost made a mistake there, but I'm not going to reshoot it and edit it out. A mistake is a mistake, and I own it. Timex Waterbury is the spot number 2 watch, and the most comfortable watch in my collection, Rolex GMT Master 2 Pepsi. That's it. That's it, guys. My 9 watches ranked by the comfortability on my wrist. What's your most comfortable watch, and which watch in your collection is the least comfortable? Please tell me in the comments below. I would love to read your thoughts on this. And as usual, if you liked the video, please consider giving it a thumbs up. If you did not like it, give it a thumbs down. Tell me what you didn't like, and I'll try to do better in my next video. If you loved the video, please consider subscribing. That means a lot to me. And that's it. Hope you had a great time, because I really did. Hope to see you again. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye. And now I'm just gonna check out this old train here. I really don't know why it's here, because I just went outside and saw it, and I really have to check it out, what it's all about. So yeah, bye bye, see you again.